And hello, everybody. Welcome into Lincoln, where my microphone's really hot right now. And Ken Siemek is here, ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Ken Siemek. First of all, I hope you know this is actually the highlight of this show since we started it.
This is?
Yeah, you.
You have got to get better guests. That's all I would say about this. And Sean, it's great to be here. And what I would tell you is I've got big news. Deb wants me to come back to work. 3 weeks of me at home, and she is ready. So I am out there looking for employment right now. So we can let that out of the bag. We're ready to go.
We got to update Ken's resume, but we were just learning that he doesn't even know how to use his phone barely, except for 3 apps. So.
Barely. That's the key. I can call somebody, and I can get a call. I've got the 1011 weather app on there, and I know how to use the calculator. And other than that, that's it. It is
all he knows.
Scary proposition.
So we if we want to update we're going to probably need to call in Bill Rinchler to update your resume.
I'll tell you what, those guys kept me going for the last 15 years back there, Bill and Brandon, and I needed every second of them. So the technology was never my thing. I told you everybody the last here that last week I was working, when I started at 1011, I was drawn with magic markers. We were drawn with magic markers on the map. We didn't have computer graphics. We didn't have, and so the technology has always been a little bit of a challenge.
That amazes me how that's moved. But before we start talking about your retirement and work, there is a piece. There's usually a headline that I like to do in the first segment of the show, and this is actually something that just came out, and it's not a headline per se. It's just something that's fun and exciting. And this came out of Washington today. Was it today or yesterday? What is today? The 21st. So it was yesterday. It came out of Washington. And you may actually recognize it. So apparently your name has been read on the House floor. If you haven't seen, here's the clip. If it wants to play. I got to actually hit play first, right?
Mr. Speaker, today I rise to
And you
celebrate
can't hear
Ken
it.
Siemek on his
Going, I promise
retirement
you.
as 1011 Severe Weather Center Chief Meteorologist. For over 40 years, Ken has informed Nebraskans with vital, sometimes even life-saving weather updates. Since joining 1011 in 1981, he quickly became synonymous with the trust and reliability across the Lincoln market. He was an ever-steady presence on the newscasts and on the air. From warning families of severe storms to sharing forecasts with the news of a sunnier tomorrow, Ken's calm, steady voice resonated deeply across the Lincoln media market. His legacy of excellence and dedication will continue to inspire future generations of broadcasters across Nebraska. Through the years, Ken Siemek was the calm before the storm. I join everyone from Lincoln to Imperial in thanking him for his decades of dedication and wishing him the very best in retirement. With that, I yield back.
Gentlemen.
Well, how did that make you feel? Have you seen that, first of all?
I have seen it. The station has been very gracious in giving it some airtime the last day and a half. And what a humbling thing. I know Congressman Flood, and he is a great public servant. It obviously shows you how slow the news day was for the U.S. Congress, but it was greatly appreciated and very humbling. And he's a very good man and a very good public servant. And I thought I was done with everything. Right? Mm-hmm. I thought we had put the lid on Ken Siemek and his career, and then that occurred yesterday. In the halls of Congress, and so it's just a humbling thing. It deserved, probably not, but appreciated, probably so.
You say it's a humbling thing, but you're the most humble person that I've known. You're like, everybody wants to make a big deal about Ken Siemek. He's like, don't stop.
Yeah, and I think that people understand that he's not that big a deal. He really isn't.
Well,
he's just a guy, because he's just a guy. that was blessed with an opportunity to do some things and work with some great people. And that's exactly how I look at it, and that's how I always have looked at it, Sean. I think there's probably a good 10,000 people in Nebraska that could have done the job that I did in the last 40 years, and I was the guy that was lucky enough to be there at the right time in the right place and was surrounded with great people that cared about me and cared about doing good journalism and cared about doing good forecasting and stuff. And I learned from everybody that I worked with and have just been blessed really to be a part of this station for so long and know that I'm amongst the luckiest 1% of the people on the face of the earth.
Again, it's so humbled, and we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit because a lot of people know you. I've only known you for the short, couple of years that I've been
Right.
here. So I'm going to get to know you a little bit here, a little later though, because we don't want to give you too big of a head too quick. But
Good luck with that.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm going to get to know you a little bit more, but we're not going to do the traditional interview. Something about this, like in the TV interviews, it's like, Ken, what are you going to do now? What are you going to do with your life? Sure, there's those, but we're going to get down to the nitty gritty.
Okay.
We're going to have some fun. We're
Okay.
going to get to know the real Ken Siemek.
Okay.
And I'm sure everybody already knows you. And I'm going to embarrass you just a little bit because I was at your retirement party and some interesting things happened there. So we're going to talk about that here in just a minute, but we're going to take a quick 1-minute break. We're going to come back with Ken Siemek. Leave your comments. We are streaming on Facebook. So if you want to leave a message for Ken, I'm going to read them all. I'm going to try to, at least. I'm going to read all the comments for Ken off of our Facebook post or on our YouTube post on the 1011 weather app, or not 1011 weather app. That's your deal.
That's my thing, or it used to be my thing.
Go to the
Not my thing anymore.
See, I'm trying to replace it, but I can't because Brad's got the job. No, but leave a comment on Facebook, leave it on our stream on YouTube. I'm going to read those for Ken. That's all coming up here in just a minute, so don't go anywhere. You're watching the one and only Ken Siemek on Lincoln. And welcome back to Lincoln. I'm Sean Wheat, along with the one and only Ken Siemek, the man, the myth, the legend, as they like to say. I told you.
Who likes to say that?
I do.
I've never,
It's
because
fun.
that makes one. I've never heard anybody
You
else say
can't
it.
say people don't say it when I say it. I only say it because you are a man, a myth, and a legend, and that's the thing. Okay, so we're onto the segment. We're going to talk about Ken.
Okay.
I mean, you as I said earlier, you're very humble. You don't like it when people talk positively about you. You don't like when people talk about you. You just like to be Ken.
There you go.
And so the reason I say this is because at the retirement party, we had a true celebrity. Not saying that you're not a true celebrity. You're a local celebrity, but a true celebrity
Absolutely.
come to your party and say the wackiest thing I've ever heard. Larry the Cable Guy, ladies and gentlemen, came up and said that he was excited and nervous to meet Ken Siemek at his golf tournament. Ken, because he had grown up watching you as a kid
In Pawnee City.
in Pawnee City, and now he lives here in Lincoln, and he watched you as a kid. And when you came to his golf tournament, did you MC it or played it?
I have emceed one of his fundraisers. I played in the golf tournament a couple of years, and so getting a chance to meet Dan Whitney, Larry the Cable Guy, has been one of the great perks of my job, being able to rub elbows with him. And he is such a great guy. He's a great humanitarian. He's a great Nebraskan. He's a great comedian, and he's a pretty doggone good golfer too. So
Is he?
it was a thrill to have him at the little retirement soiree, and I have never felt more gracious or happy to have someone make fun of me for 15 straight minutes as I did that day. It was quite the thing.
That's the thing. You had a true comedian, a nationally renowned comedian, and the voice of Tomater making fun of you and saying all these weird. I mean, he basically talked about how he pooped his pants at one point because you were just a great guy. You know, he just thought you were the bee's knees.
He was and is such a great person. And like I said, the comment about, he's saying all these nice things about me before he starts the digs, and he go and the one comment about Ken Siemek is responsible for making weather forecasting in Nebraska what it is today. Unreliable. And I'm like, that's just perfect. That is perfect coming from Dan, and it's perfect describing me too. So that was quite the thrill.
And so with him, hearing a celebrity talk positively about you, I mean, not many, unless you're in LA and stuff like that, you probably wouldn't get that. But he comes out, he says this, and you're still very humbled. You're like, why did you do this? Why did you do this for me? I mean, is that the real Ken Siemek? I mean, most people think if you're on TV, you must be like narcissistic,
oh,
or something
yeah,
like that. But
this is all a facade, Sean. You know that. And if you talk to like my wife or any of my family members, they'll tell you, what a ego-driven maniac this guy is. Anyway, no, you know what? That's just the way we were raised. Yeah. My mom and dad were two of the greatest people on earth, and my mom taught us how to treat people and to never get too big for your britches, and how important other people are in your lives, and how fortunate we are to have the things we have or have the opportunities we have. And that just never left me. So when you grow up that way in Columbus, Nebraska, then it's not too big of a stretch to go, that's pretty much the way you're going to be wherever you go and whatever you do. And so that's just part of being a Siemek. That's the way I look at it. So I was blessed to have the parents I had. I was blessed to come from the family that I came from at 2409 8th Street in Columbus. And I was blessed to get this job in October of 1981, and blessed to be a part of this station and know the people that I've worked with.
Well, now that everybody in Columbus knows your address, you're probably going to get another one of those.
We don't live there anymore, though,
right,
Sean.
But it's probably going to have another one of these. I mean, the studios are named after you. Again, another honor. First of all, and I want to say this with the utmost love, is that you have to be somewhere so long for them to name a room after you. They didn't name the bathroom after you.
No, but I spent more time. I spent as much time in there as I did in that doggone studio in 44 years.
They were probably going to put it over the urinal at first, but the GM said, no, we need to put it on the studio. And I told you, this is unlike any interview you've ever going to do. And sure enough, they put it on the studio, the Ken Siemek Studios, dedicated to you for 1981, which is 1 year before I was born. No.
Oh my gosh! You didn't need to throw that in there, I don't think.
And to 2005, and you've touched so many lives. It's at any point did you just sit back and go, well, maybe I earned this?
No. And I every once in a while I'll pinch myself here and there and go, did all that really happen? And was I here that long really to be? So I just through the grace of God and the fortunes, how lucky can one person be? But no, I never. There was always another forecast, right? Mm-hmm. That's the great thing about this business. There's always another forecast, and even when after 40 plus years of doing the weather, it's like, oh, he's done. Well, guess what? Then Brad Anderson is sitting in that chair and standing in front of that green screen, because there's always another day's worth of weather. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate everything that happened to me, but never for 1 second did I ever go, oh, they're going to miss me when I'm gone. No, they're not. The weather goes on, and Brad's doing a great job, and he's going to do a great job, and that department's doing a great job, and I watch at least 4 nights out of 5 during the week to see how everybody's doing, and they're doing great. The station's doing great. Didn't miss a beat. Just kind of kept on pumping them out there, and now they're doing some neat things, some different things that I didn't do when I was here. And so it's only been a couple of weeks, and I'm like, this place is in great hands. This place is in great shape, and I'm going to enjoy watching for the next 25 years.
Well, that's because you trained him well. But all right, talking about it, Lori Warner says we got our first comment for you. So happy to see you. Have been down south golf. Have you been down south golfing? It looks like you've got your tan on.
If you count Pioneers as being south, that's as far south as we've gotten. You know what? It's just been such a relaxing 3 weeks. And one of the things that I will tell you, you know, at my age, and I'm 66 now, the stress was really started to become an issue for me, because you worry so much about the severe storms, and you worry so much about the people at home. And the way I looked at it, you know, our viewers just became an extension of my family. And so it got to be the stress level. When you get to be a little bit older, you don't handle it quite as well. And so you worry about things a little bit more. And so these last 3 weeks and I know the weather's been great. If I'd have known the weather was going to be this nice when I retired, I would have done it 10 years ago for everybody. And so they could have enjoyed some really nice fall weather. But it got to the point where the grind was becoming harder on me and becoming harder on my family and stuff. And so you get to the point where you realize it's time to step away, especially when you know the place is in great hands. So no, I haven't been anywhere except Lincoln golfing. So that's as far south as we've gone so far, unless you call Eagle and Woodland Hills. We've been there too and done a little golfing. So there's been no big trips. We're really not planning anything through the end of the year. We just want to spend a little more time with family. And Deb, of course, retired at the same time I did, so we're spending a lot of time together. And we used to be on completely opposite schedules. She'd be out the door by 6:30 in the morning and work until 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And I wouldn't get out of bed till 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning, get into work by 1, and then not get home until midnight. And then on those severe weather nights when you're still here till 2 or 3 in the morning, our schedules were exactly the opposite. So now we're getting to know each other again and spending some, what I think is quality time together. We'll have to get her in here for one of the Lincoln deals, Sean, with you to find out what the real truth is. But haven't been anywhere, just around the golf courses and doing some local things and spending a lot of quality time with family.
Okay, so you brought up something with that the people, your viewers were basically your extended family. You know, you took it seriously, the stress of it. And all those years, I've seen it, I've experienced it myself when we would have to break in for severe weather and people would just get ticked off.
Irate.
They would get absolutely unruly. Well, now you won't get fired because, well, you don't have a job now.
Right.
What do you, the gloves are off if you want them to be, but what would you say to people like that?
I would say I understand that. I always understood where people were coming from, but at the end of the day, I always felt like I had a job and a responsibility, and that was to keep people as safe as I possibly could. And so then you have to make decisions, right? You have to pull the trigger on some of these things. Do I need to stay on for 2 minutes? Do I need to stay on for 5 minutes? Do I need to stay on for 15 minutes, depending on the situation and stuff? And so the buck always stopped right here, right? I knew that there were going to be upset people, and I get it. We know what kind of society that we live in now, and patience and grace and things have been a bit of a victim in the last 5 years and 10 years compared to civility and, okay, I understand what he's doing what he thinks he has to do. And I never expected everybody to agree with me or to understand what I was doing. But at the end of the day, I got paid to help at least do my part to try to keep people safe during serious weather situations. And so you always had to do what you felt in your heart that you had to do. And so I could always look in the mirror at the end of the day. Did it bother me if people called in or if people on Facebook or Twitter had some nasty things to say, absolutely it bothered me. And I read all of those things and tried to understand as best I could where they were coming from. But I also knew at the end of the day, you got to do what you think is right, or you shouldn't be out there. If you're going to let the crowd tell you what to do, or if you're going to let 10 people or 5 people tell you what to do and how you should be, what kind of decisions you should be making, you're probably not going to be real good at your job. And so, and you always had to understand that, I mean, if enough people were complaining, then your boss was probably going to come back at some point and go, we got to do something about this, or we got to talk about how you're making these decisions. But again, you talk about the blessed part of my career. I've worked with some great people as news directors, my immediate boss, and stuff that always supported what we were trying to do back there. And you can't, Sean, you cannot put a price tag on having your superiors support you like the bosses that I've had here support me.
And you can't put a price tag on a life. And so I'm sorry if you're missing your show. Sorry, not sorry, because we weren't not going to play a show if it's going to put someone's life at risk.
Right, and that was always the bottom line, right? I mean, especially in the tornado situations and stuff. And we have been so lucky in Lincoln. Other parts of the state, not so lucky, but we have been so lucky. But we could see just, a year ago at Arbor Day, those Arbor Day tornadoes and the damage that they did and things. That those are the kinds of things that scare you because you just don't know, is tonight the night?
Yeah.
Is this the one? Is this the one that's going to? And so for, 40 plus, at least here in Lincoln, we dodged the tornado bullet every time.
Yeah.
Every time. And so again, that's good fortune and good luck and the good Lord at different times. But you always had to do, at the end of the day, you had to do what you thought was right. And in that case, in our cases, and I'm sure that there are people at home that go, oh yeah, but you don't need to be on for a half hour. You don't need to be on for 45 minutes. We all have the weather app. We all can see whether it's going to hit but there are a lot of people out there that are frightened of severe weather. And so, and especially, now with both parents in the family working sometimes and kids being at home alone. And so you always had to factor, at least I felt like you always had to factor those things in, and you always tried to work the fine line between what's too much, what's not enough, and then you got to run with it.
And then most people don't know how to read a radar. They just see the colors and they're thinking, okay, this is red. That must mean that's the worst storm ever, when actually it could be rain. All it is a reflection of the rain.
It's exactly right.
So this is the thing that the meteorologist looks at is a hook echo and also the wind speeds and the pressure. And there's so many things that go into it.
Yes.
So understand that those decisions, and I'm saying this as somebody who's been in your shoes. I mean, by the way, Brad Anderson broke into programming and got to experience his first complaints about interrupting prime time this last week. Actually, it was, just a couple days ago. And so that actually brings up Amber. Amber mentioned that. Amber, our wonderful digital director here.
We love Amber.
She said that we had a severe thunderstorm warning this week in Lancaster County. What is it like being home for that and not on the air?
It was, I don't want to use the word relaxing, but it was, or joyful. Those are two bad words to use. I wouldn't ever use those with severe weather, but it was an unusual and unique situation for me. And so your adrenaline starts pumping a little bit, but you're like, that's not my problem now. I mean, it's not my problem. And I knew that they were going to handle it great here. But I also knew that there's going to be heck to pay. Especially when something like that comes out of nowhere and you're like, oh, come on, it wasn't a tornado. It wasn't an EF2 or an EF3. It was a this and a that. But, we take our responsibility here pretty serious when it comes to severe weather. And, you don't have to have a tornado to do damage. Hail and high winds and things can hurt people and damage things and stuff. But it was a unique feeling for me to not have to feel like you had to answer the bell, kind of like a boxer where it's like, ding, ding, you got to get out there and get pounded again. No, I just sat on my stool in the corner and went, I'm sure this is all going to work out fine,
exactly.
But it was kind of unique.
And Brad was on the show last week, and I tell you, You did. You trained him well. I mean, he's first of all, it's so rare to get somebody to stay in a market,
Oh.
especially small market, for as long as you did, especially these days. And same thing with Brad. He's
Yeah.
been here forever. That's so rare.
30 years. I think he goes to 30 years this year. And so you go 44 for Ken, 30 for Brad. That's almost 75 years worth of meteorological experience in the same market that's barely, what are we, 110? Lincoln is the 110th market or something. So you're right. It's absolutely unheard of. I don't know what it necessarily says about us, but that's another show. We'll bring in the psychologist at that point, Sean. But, I mean, I can't think of anything else. I mean, I can't think of any place else I was supposed to be. And obviously Brad feels that way too, or I wouldn't have stayed this long, and Brad wouldn't have stayed this long if this wasn't home and we didn't feel like this is exactly where we needed to be and that we could do some really good stuff here.
Yeah, it's amazing to just see the familiar face, and that's where Mr. Whitney was talking about Larry the Cable Guy. For those who don't know his real name, what Larry the Cable Guy was talking about is you've been doing it for so long. It's like you just expect Ken. Now you expect Brad because you've been doing it for so long. You've been the trusted face, and right now with the erosion of trust in local media, and that's what I hate hearing that, because I'm a corporate guy, and to hear that that local media is not as trusted as it used to be because of what mainstream media has done.
Sure.
That hurts, especially when there's a passion. But now, I mean, but with you hearing that though, knowing that even though your weathers, according to everybody in the world, is that they're always wrong anyways,
Right.
they still trusted you to still give it to you.
I know. And so what an honor that is to stop and think about that, Sean, that people invited you. They invited me into their homes every night for the better part of 40 years. Who does? I mean, I have relatives that I'm not inviting into my home most of the time, let alone something like that. So I never took that for granted. I always felt like what a kindness and what an honor it is for people to trust you, and even if you're wrong, and let me, believe me, I've been wrong hundreds and thousands of times if you factor in forecasts over 40 plus years. But to know that people at home trust you to do the best you can with whatever the situation is, putting the forecast together, looking at the models, big snowstorms, severe weather outbreak. That is such an honor to have people invite you night after night after night into their homes and become part of their family. And so what a great, probably one of the greatest feelings that I have ever experienced is just the fact that people trusted you. It's such a great honor, and I'll never, ever forget it, and I will always, always appreciate it.
So the one thing that got me into doing weather, and mind you, for those who don't know, I've been a storm spotter. I've sat on some panels with the National Weather Service out of Wichita. I have been on TV forecasting. I'm not a meteorologist. Let me make that very clear. I'm not a meteorologist. I didn't go to school for it. I'm just a big weather nerd who's also a news guy, or was a news guy. Now I'm not. I work for the corporate offices. So, anyways, the thing that got me into it is back in 2000, the year I graduated high school, a tornado hit my hometown of Parsons, Kansas. Literally ripped it in half. Train tracks went this way. The tornado went this way. We had a big old X in the middle of Parsons, Kansas. And it was eye-opening because just 2 weeks before that, I had shadowed the local anchor at KOAM TV in Pittsburgh at the Joplin Market. And they called up and they said, do you know if anybody, they called me up because I'd just been there and they knew I was from Parsons, and they called me and they said, do you know if anybody got hurt? And luckily, because of their actions, the meteorologist, who was Doug Hetty at the time, still is Doug Hetty, he was on the air that whole entire time, and he got people to shelter. There was a carnival going on downtown.
Oh my gosh.
There were people on those rides.
That's
they took
frightening.
shelter, and not one person was killed in that tornado.
That's amazing.
Not one person. That's what got me inspired into wanting to do more with weather myself.
That's awesome.
So now I want to know, what inspired you?
Absolutely nothing like that. Absolutely. I was going to be a sports broadcaster, Sean.
Oh.
So I went to UNL, took classes at UNL, and wanted to be the next Dick Janda. Dick Janda was the sports director here at Channel 10 back in the 80s. And my whole goal going through school was to become a sports director, sports broadcaster, and actually my first on-air shift here at the station was doing the 5:30 Sunday night sports. They made the big guns come back in for 10 o'clock, for the 10 o'clock shows on Sunday, because the 10 o'clock show on Sunday night on 10/11 was the most watched show because it preceded the Tom Osborne show, and he was the football coach that was going to win national championships and stuff. And so everybody was always tuned in Sunday night at 10 because the Tom Osborne show started at 10:30. So they made Mel Maines and Linda Bierman, who was the chief meteorologist back then, and Dick Jan to come back in and do that 10 o'clock show on Sundays. But the 5:30 show, they would let the weekend people do it. And so I was doing sports at 5:30. And then about 6 months into that gig, which I was loving, they asked me if I would fill in doing the weekend weather, the Saturday 6 and 10 and the Sunday 5:30 doing the weekend weather until they could hire somebody to do the weekend weather, and then I could go back to doing sports. And I waited for 40, what time is it? It's 8:30. I waited for 44 years for them to, and then they finally, like 2 weeks ago, I'd already been retired for a week. They said they had finally found somebody and I could go back to doing sports.
Watch out, Kevin Suits.
So there you go. And so that was my story. And so then I started doing weekend weather, fell in love with it, couldn't get enough of it, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I just love stories like that because it seems like everybody who does weather has a passion for it because of something that happened, and your passion because you got thrown into it.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't see it coming. I walked through that door, never expecting that I was going to be spending the next 40 years of my life doing that, but I did it, and I fell in love with it. And so you talk about, wow, what a quirk of fate that happened. If whoever was doing it, I can't even remember who was doing the weekend weather back in 1982. I can't even remember who it was that I replaced there for a while. But if that doesn't happen, if that person stays in that job, who knows? I'm not here. I'm not, because we've had such great sports anchors here. I would have probably never stayed. I would have never got the job here. So it's really incredible how things work out. And so if I have any lesson, and I don't, because I don't like people giving me lessons either, but if there's any lesson to learn about my career, it's don't be afraid to try something a little bit off the wall.
Yep.
It might not turn out to be anything, might turn out to be a part-time gig, or it might turn out to be a career where you're just like, wow, that was the greatest thing. Outside of my family, this station has been the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
That's exactly. I love that you said that because that's been something that's happened to me. Is I was just a reporter, beat reporter, went out, did my job, and then Facebook Live became a thing, and I was like, we should be using this. And sure enough, Facebook Live, I started doing it, and I got over 30,000 followers on Facebook on my page alone in Topeka, Kansas. And corporate goes, what the heck is this guy doing? He's got more likes than half of our stations do. And so they hired me to launch Local News Live, which you see in between our newscasts.
Sure.
And then now I'm consulting 125 TV stations across the country.
Amen.
So I agree with what the short end of the story is. Yes, you are exactly right. Because do not be afraid to try things because you never know what's going to happen.
Never know.
And I wouldn't have gotten to know the wonderful Ken Siemek if I hadn't had done those Facebook Lives and got all those likes on Facebook and became a popular person.
Probably one of the thrills of your life, getting to know me, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know what? It has been, actually. It really has been.
We got to get you out more, Sean.
I have been to the White House 3 times. I have met so many different celebrities, country music artists.
Aw.
But nothing beats Ken Siemek.
Oh,
ladies
my
and gentlemen.
gosh.
Yeah, now he's blushing. You can't see it, maybe. He's turning red. But, okay, so.
Just so folks at home know, no money changed hands there. That was not a $20, 20 bucks.
Not yet. Money. I told him that I was going to buy his wife dinner since she let him go to come and do this show.
Oh, cool.
But I'm going to at some point. I wish I would have had more time in the Weather Center to actually get to know you like I am now, because this is a lot of fun.
Cool.
And that's why I wanted you to do the show, because this is a side of you that maybe people don't see, because generally the news interviews are like, oh, we're going to miss you, we're going to miss you, we're going to miss you. Let me talk to you because I don't know you that well.
Let's get some real stuff out there.
So now that you don't have to worry about coming back in the middle of the night for severe weather, what is your drink of choice?
Oh,
Aha!
That's a great question. And I'm going to go with a margarita.
Okay.
Salt on the rim and keep them coming.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to get Ken anything for Christmas, it's a gift card to a Mexican restaurant that has really good margaritas.
That'll do it. That would do it.
And what do you find yourself doing more in your free time? Yes, everybody talks about golf, but what do you find yourself doing more of?
You know what? That's a great question. And what I find myself doing more of is thinking about what I should be thinking about more of. Because there's nothing there. Look, let's not make him any bigger than it is. What it is I was blessed to do what I got to do for so long here, working with so many great people. And now we literally, Deb and I are taking one day at a time. Mm-hmm. And we used to so much look forward to Saturday and so much look forward to Sunday because it was outside the work week and we could spend those days together. And now, Sean, we find out that every day is Saturday.
Yeah.
And every day is Sunday.
Yeah,
and so it is. So I should have come up with some great answer, but I really don't have one. I'm waiting to see what the next thing is.
You're not making retirement sound very appealing
now. I'm not.
I
thought this would be exactly what everybody was looking for. So I guess I'm wondering what the next little thing is. You know, we will probably get involved in some charitable things because we think it's important to, if you're fortunate enough to try and give back when you can and stuff. But we really have just taken these last 3 weeks and gone, what do we want to do today? Nothing. Okay, let's do that. What do we want to do tomorrow? It's supposed to be nice. Brad says it's going to be nice. Well, let's make it tea time. And so it's really been low key and just spending time together and not having to look at the clock and go, okay, we got to start getting serious now because tomorrow's a work day or that kind of thing. And it has been such a blessing to be able to do that just for a couple of weeks. This is actually the most fun I've had in the last 3 weeks is being on
the show more often.
And there goes the viewership right down the tubes.
Now, you could be my best special guest host every other week. All right. You know, I was talking, the reason I asked for your drink of choice, David Letterman I did this with Brad last week, the top 5 things.
What did Brad say? Oh, you asked him about his favorite drink?
I did not.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I did not. You can ask him, though. I have not because... So I did the top 5 things you never want to hear your meteorologist say.
Oh, cool.
Because it's a spoof off of what David Letterman did. And one of the meteorologists that I worked with actually made it on his show.
Oh,
and
my
his
God.
line was, one of the top things you don't want to hear your meteorologist say is, there's a 20% chance of rain and there's a 100% chance I'm going to get blind stinking drunk tonight. So, you know, that's why it made me think of, well, now that he doesn't have to worry about the 20% chance of rain and thunderstorms tonight,
he's
getting 100% blind stinking. No,
there we go.
I don't know. I don't think he'd get blind stinking drunk, but, you know, we take a little bit more liberties when you know you do not have to be at work the next day. I mean, what do? You probably have a drink, so why not?
But you know what you still need to be careful of, Sean, is how many people still come up to me. I mean, every day, and some of it's at the golf course, some of it's at the store, some of it's we walk through the neighborhood. That's one of the things that we've tried to pick up is doing more walking for exercise purposes. I can't believe how many people will come up and say something about retirement and something about, and so you're like, well, it's a good thing I'm not dancing on that table because somebody that hasn't been long enough, they still remember because I was on for too long. So you still got to be a little bit careful that you're not, all right, I'm done. I'm letting the hair down and I'm going to let everybody know exactly. You still are, as far as I'm concerned, you still have that responsibility to the people that watched you for so long. You don't want to turn out to be a jerk now after going through all that stuff and trying so hard to be a good guy and be a nice guy. You don't want to go, okay, that's it. I am done with that.
Here comes the mean
Gimmick. The
now.
mean Ken. Nobody wants to see that. And so it's really been interesting. And so in a lot of ways for me, things haven't really changed that much. I'm not showing up here. And so I haven't missed a forecast in over 3 weeks. That's the longest stretch of accuracy that I had in 40 plus years. So I haven't missed a forecast since October 30th, which was my last day here. But people have just been great. I cannot tell you how many well-wishers, not only to the cards and the letters and the texts and the tweets and the things that we got those last couple of weeks right before I was done, but just since that retirement, it has just been heartwarming. The reaction that I still get from people out in the public, and I love every second of it.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's a 1 minute break here. When we come back, I'm going to read the rest of the comments we've received on
Both
Facebook.
of them?
Both of them, yes. Literally, okay, 3. We have 3 more comments aside from the other 2 that are on there. So
You're going to have time?
we will have time. So
Okay.
get your comments in now if you want me to read them here for Ken so he can see what you said. And of course, we will come back here in just a second. So stay tuned. You're watching Lincoln. And welcome back to Lincoln. I'm Sean Weed along with Ken Siemek, the one and only. And okay, so we usually at this time I do my top 5. And since we already did the top 5 things that you don't want to hear a meteorologist say with Brad last week, I'm just going to stick to the comments because I wanted to leave enough time for people to leave you a comment.
Okay.
If they had anything to say. So I'm going to move this microphone over here. And I think this is Michelle Rodriguez. She says, my daughter loves seeing Carmelo, but thanks for all your hard work that you did, Ken.
Now, you don't know what that means to me. Carmelo is such a sweetheart of a guy. We are so lucky to have him. He is the next generation of the 1011 meteorologist. He has such a passion for what he's doing. And I've only got to work with him for a year, but Sean, I will tell you, he's probably the only meteorologist back there that I was ever jealous of, and I was jealous of him because of how much he loves what he's doing. And I probably felt that way, but it was so many decades ago, I can't remember. He loves meteorology, and he loves what he's doing, and you can tell by watching him on the air, and he is a special young man.
Well, Gladys Tyser says, thank you for all your help over the years. I remember when you started. Good job.
Oh, my gosh. If he remembers when I started, he doesn't put his age in there.
Gladys does not.
Okay.
But from Wilbur, Nebraska.
Wilbur, Nebraska, a garden spot in the state.
Deanna Briley says, thanks for keeping us all safe during the storms, Ken. I hope that retirement is nothing but wall-to-wall sunshine.
Oh.
And Deanna is from, she went to Lincoln Northeast High School. That's all I know about her. And then Lance Schwartz says.
Lance Schwartz?
Yes. Hi, I'm
Be careful with this comment.
President of the Ken Siemek fan club. Cheers, Ken 11.
He's one of a kind.
I don't know who he is.
He worked here for many years and did Lance's Journal. And I want to say it was over 800 stories on Nebraskans across this state.
Oh, wow.
And he is a special young man, and he's married to a special woman, and they are 2 of my favorite people in the world, Lance and Mary, and he is one of a kind, and I should have known that he would say something nice because that's the kind of person he is.
And that looks like that's all the comments. Of course, if you have other comments, you're more than welcome to leave them on here, but any I mean, this is pretty much it for you. You told me earlier, you're like, all right, I'm done with these things. I'm not going to do any more. Let's stop talking about Ken. Ken's done. He's retired.
A little bit of Ken goes a long way, Sean, and folks had to put up with him for 44 years. They're ready for him to take a step back into the shadows and stay there for a couple of decades.
Janet Weiser from Lincoln, Nebraska just commented, and from Columbus, always love seeing you during those summers at Caravan, especially
Can Caravan.
Can Caravan, especially when Deb was with you.
Oh, now what a nice thing to say. And the Can Caravan, as our viewers know, I think this is going to be the 39th year. I remember when it started. I went to Columbus as part of that for, I think, 31 years in a row, 32 years in a row, because that was my hometown and stuff. And the Can Caravan, the 1011 Can Caravan and their sponsors have gotten over 6 million pounds of donated food in the last 38 years for food pantries across the state. And you talk about what are the things you're most proud of in your career here. That's right at the top of the list. What the Can Caravan has done for this state and how so many people have embraced that and embraced their neighbors just like they were family, and especially for the folks that need the help at some point. And we've had many, many years where we've had people come to use the food pantry, and then a couple years later, when they're in a little better shape, have come and donated food to the food pantries in these locations. And so, God bless Janet for that comment. She's that's great, but it's also been one of the highlights of my career.
All right. Well, and Scott, I'm gonna Ridnor says, ask Ken about the car. Ridnor, thank you. So
Yep.
Scott. Okay, ask Ken about the car Mel Maines drove compared to what he was driving during our town, Columbus.
I don't know what his problem is with my 1967 four-door Chevy Nova that didn't have a radio or air conditioning compared to the white Corvette that Mel Maines drove when he was, yes. So there was no comparison, and I think that gives you a pretty good idea of where we were at on the strata of popular anchors and who was making the most money. So Mel and his Corvette, God bless him, and then my Chevy Nova. So there was quite a disparity there. But as I've said for many years, that 67 Chevy Nova was a classic.
Yeah,
it was a classic.
First car was a 1968 Mercury Cougar.
Oh, that is a classic.
Yeah, my first car ever. And the thing is those things were tanks and beasts, had an 8-track stereo in it. Mind you, this was 20 years ago.
Nice.
And I think I hit a tree, and I knocked the tree down, but I didn't have a dent in my car. And I still haven't told my parents about that.
They don't make them. They don't make them like that anymore, Sean.
No, they don't. Oh my goodness! After I read a couple of these, now everybody's
commenting.
Oh no. Okay, Denise Smart says, "Love you, Ken. Thank you for all your time when weather was terrible. When I moved here, you were the first meteorologist I saw. I've trusted you ever since." She's from York.
Oh, Denise, thank you.
Then Karen Mulvaney,
Your favorite drink is a margarita.
I'll know what she's talking about. So, Ken's amazing talent of the fast-paced severe weather live cut-ins on TV while listening in his earpiece to the updates, all while continuing talking to us. His audience was incredible.
Oh my gosh.
That alone takes talent. He rarely missed a beat.
Oh my heavens. I needed her as an agent.
Yeah,
I could have done a lot better here over the years. What a nice thing to say.
And Scott,
thank you.
Scott followed up with, good to see you, Ken. Enjoy your retirement.
Oh, bless everybody. Thank you.
Oh, you've had a declaration from the mayor. I haven't
Ken
heard anything
Siemek
from
Day,
the governor.
Ken Siemek Day, October 30th, 2025. You can't, I took a bunch of parking tickets in and hoped they would take, didn't work out, but I gave it a shot. Mayor Larian is she's a great mayor. She's a great politician, but she is a even better person than she is politician. And so one of the things that when you hang around a television station for as long as you get to meet a lot of really cool people. Mm-hmm. And she's one of the really cool people that I've got a chance to meet. Dan Whitney and another one, and Mike Flood, another one. But the list just goes on and on and on. And you're just like, wow, how lucky are you? And believe me, for 44 years, I went home every night, looked in the rearview mirror, and went, "Wow, okay." There were a couple of severe weather nights I didn't say how lucky am I, but other than that, most of the time I was looking in my mirror, going, "Wow, how lucky are you?"
Bill Robertson comments, "Hi, Ken. Such great memories working."
Bill Robertson.
Yep.
Oh my
It
heavens!
is.
Bill was the anchor that was hired right after Mel Maines retired, and he is one of my 6 favorite people in the world. He was a great news anchor. He was so much fun to work with. Deb and I just loved him to death. And I'm glad to hear that he's still out there kicking. He is one of a kind.
Bill, you can send your check to him. He's already paid me. Send his check.
Oh, I love Bill Robertson. God, great to hear from him.
All right. So, Ken, we know now you're going to get done with the show.
Yep.
Deb's not with you.
Nope.
So you're going
Well,
to
I mean, she's still with me.
Well, yeah, I'm talking
But
about tonight.
tonight, yes. Yeah, I
Tonight.
didn't want to start that rumor.
Are you going to just
Sean.
sneak off and have a cheeseburger?
No, not a
Okay.
chance.
Okay.
Heading right back home as fast as I can get there.
I'm going to go get a cheeseburger. I'll get one for you, too. I'll eat yours.
That's
Because-
fair enough.
You see, since I haven't been on TV, things have expanded, and I'm not talking about my ego. So I'll have that cheeseburger for you. Thank you so much. You're talking about the mayor. The mayor, I'm gonna first of all call out the mayor because mayor, you said no to my show once. Now,
Uh-oh.
Ken, he gave you such a rave
Oh,
review.
my
You got to be
gosh.
on the show. Make sure you email the mayor and say to be on the show. Also, on the House floor, and the mayor, the proclamations. Governor, where are you? Just
Oh,
say-
no.
just
He's
say- no.
well, he's already made me an admiral in the Nebraska Navy. I have that proclamation from when I was on 93.7, the radio station, the sports guys, Sipple and Coach Bush and all those guys were great. And they had the governor come down, surprised me after that show was over, made me an admiral in the Nebraska Navy. So let's not sell a former Columbusite, much like myself. Jim Pillen stepped up early and often. So the governor has done more than his part when it comes to honoring this guy.
Did not know.
There you go.
Well, okay, so all right, Governor, I do apologize if I'm in the wrong.
He's never going to show up now.
Right
for
now,
the
he's
show
not
if
good. I'd
you've
love
asked.
for you to be on the show. Sure, I'd love for it. And the thing about it is I probably won't talk politics. I'll talk like this. That's the whole.
Now, see, that could get you would think that would be enough to get the politicians to come on. If there were no political questions, how interesting would that be? I've got 100 questions for the mayor.
Yeah.
I would have 100 questions for Mike Flood. I would have 100 questions for Jim Pillen, just to find out what, we see them, and so we feel like we know them, but only to a certain degree. And so that'd be 3 great shows right there.
And then, mind you, I'd probably ask 1 or 2 political questions.
Oh, well, now you
Especially
changed. I
with the
thought you
mayor.
said that was out. You
Well,
said you weren't going to ask any political questions.
I'll ask 1.
Okay,
I'll ask
we'll
1.
let you do one.
Just 1. But no, that's the whole entire point of the show, linking people together. You've been a staple in this community for so long. It was like I had to have Kim on.
Cool.
On. I called you Kim. You're Kim now.
That's all right. Close enough.
But no, I love to get to know people, and being new to Lincoln that's what the show is all about. I want to treat the show as if I know nothing, because I don't. And I'm hoping the people who watch also know nothing, so we get to know the community.
We
And
all learn something
that's the
about
whole
each
point.
other and about the community, and that's a
That's
great
the point.
that's a great goal, Sean.
Because as a community, we are only as good as our neighbors. We are only good as the people also in our community. Now, I could do a whole bunch of stuff. You could do a whole bunch of stuff, but 1, 2 people. What about the rest? And that's where we got to
I love
continue to work together with each other to try to make our community a better place.
love
And that's
that.
why we want to link Lincoln. And that's the whole entire point of the show.
I love it.
Ken, thank you so much.
My
Jim
pleasure.
Goodrich says, hope you're having a great retirement, Ken. Best wish always. And Bill said the check is in the mail.
I can't wait, because now I'm on a fixed income, so that'll be much appreciated. And I want to thank everybody for all the kind words and so many kind sentiments over the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, ever since we announced the retirement, Sean. And everyone has been appreciated, and everyone has found a spot right here.
Thank you so much, Ken.
My
We
pleasure.
Appreciate you.
My pleasure.
And as humble as you are, You deserve every bit of it.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is Lincoln. Lincoln, I have no idea who's my guest in the next 2 weeks, but it's after Thanksgiving, so I'm probably going to be a little bit fatter and a whole bunch jollier because I turn into Santa Claus. Have a good. I'm going to try to get Santa Claus on at some point.
Oh,
You just
great
wait.
idea. I'll watch that night.
Heck, see, Ken's watching. Why
I'm
aren't
watching.
you?
I'm watching
2
Lincoln.
weeks,
Lincoln.
7:30. Make sure you tune in. I'll see you later. I'm Sean Wheat. That's Ken Siemek. Have a good one and a happy Thanksgiving.
1011 News is everywhere. Download our smart TV apps and follow us on social media at 1011 News.